Right then, this is a quick walk around video. Got a lovely car. This is a Lexus IS300 hybrid and it's the Premier model, so top spec car. This car's got 89,000 miles. It has a absolutely wonderful service history. All the servicing right up to the one we've just done has been done by the Lexus main dealers. Very well cared for car. Finished in this really lovely, I hate trying to describe colours, sort of grey, platinum-y, titanium-y. I'll just about cover it. Very nice car. Front of the car, really lovely styling on these Lexus. It's absolutely fantastic. It's got an aggressive looking front end. Very clean indeed. Lights and lenses are clear, there's no cracks or condensation. Bonnet, remarkable for a car with the mileage it's done. Hardly stone chip anywhere. But first, they aren't really prone to it. Must be the angle, I guess. Near side, lovely and smooth. Such interesting lines and angles on this car. It's absolutely fantastic. So it's a bit windy today, so I'm hoping you can hear me okay. Near side really clean. There'll be the obviously the light sort of brush mark you always get on any car, especially a car 9 years old. Around the back, generally very clean. Off side of the car, driver's side rather, again, lovely and smooth in the panels, and again just really fabulous styling on the car. Just so much more interesting than most other cars in its class, I think. But I am horribly biased, so pinch of salt and all that. Panel work really clean again, and it really is in fabulous condition. It's only a tiny little age-related mark, but they're few and far between. You can hardly see them. Come to the boot area now. Good sized boot, as you expect of a Lexus. Beautifully finished, and it's been kept in beautiful condition as well. Let's come to the back of the car now. Good amount of room. Full black leather interior, looks absolutely fantastic in the car. Front and passenger side, full set of original Lexus mats, of course, in the vehicle. Passenger seat there, again, very nice condition. Just coming on the driver's side now. Driver's door card lovely and clean. And footwell area is lovely and clean as well. Driver's seat for a car this age and mileage is in fantastic condition. So inside the car now. Engine's running, so the dashboard can be seen illuminated, which looks absolutely fantastic on the car. All in lovely condition as well. Sat nav, as you can see, working absolutely perfectly there. Just pop the car into reverse, you can see the rear parking camera again working exactly as intended. But it is a gorgeous interior, it really is. So just come to the dashboard binnacle. That's the view you get, by the way, when you're in eco and normal mode, and there you go in sport mode with the back lighting suddenly turns red and a rev counter. Ignore the after did the road test video, the tyre pressure sensor pinged on the monitor rather, and we know we ordered a new tyre pressure sensor, just one of them is required, so that will be attended to before the car's sold. Finally, just to show you, owner's manual pack and lock and wheel nut key all here and present with the car. Right then, this is a quick road test video. Unfortunately, it's just starting to pour down, but there we go. This is for a Lexus IS300 hybrid, and it's the Premier model. Car's registered MA64KHH, and with a mileage of 89,786 recorded. The reason we do all of our videos, and actually especially this road test action, is just to make sure that if anyone's online looking at the advertised car, they get to see that very car in operation. The reason being is, as I always say, it's it can be really frustrating to go and see a car which can look perfectly good in a photograph or description, but only to get there and find out it's got an obvious fault that shows up when you drive the car. So that is why we do it. So coming to the car, clearly it's been extraordinarily well looked after in terms of service history, and that shows up rather nicely in the way the car drives, because it does drive beautifully. Press the power button was silently into operation. These are what Lexus refer to quite rightly as self-charging hybrids. So So basically, you're going to drive, own and run the car like a normal petrol car. So when you get low on fuel, you can stand at a fuel pump for a couple of minutes, top up, and then off you go again for many hundreds of miles. Batteries can't run out. You're not going to be left stranded anywhere in that sense, and you're not going to be waiting to plug the thing in and waiting for it to charge up. So none of that. It charges the hybrid battery in the car. Every time I back off the throttle pedal or hit the brakes, it regenerates into the battery, and it's brilliant because all that energy is normally wasted in the car. But by utilising the brakes, it's that's how it gains its fuel economy and gives you the extra performance. In essence, it's just sensational to drive. It's so smooth and quiet. The transitions between the various modes, between electric and only, petrol and electric, are almost imperceptible, and it's very, very smooth and quiet on the move. It does offer you, by the way, 3 different settings for your engine. Currently I'm in normal mode. If I twist it to the left, I go into eco mode. So the throttle response feels slightly more slovenly, not slow, but just it definitely feels slightly softer. So for around town, it's going to encourage more battery use. It's quite handy for that. If I want to go back into normal mode, just press the button down. But if I twist it to the right, suddenly my eco meter for the battery disappears, and I get a rev counter and red backlighting instead of the blue, and immediately throttle response feels much more urgent. It's a really nice setting, actually, I have to say. I've always driven mine most of the time a normal, and occasionally just twist it into sport mode if I'm in the mood. But really beautifully done. Where it gets very clever, and where these are light years ahead of their opposition in lots of ways, is using this gearbox, the CVT gearbox. Makes the whole driving experience, when you combine it with all of that and the refinement of the engine and the hybrid, it just is supreme in the way it delivers its power, because it's so utterly seamless. Where people tend to notice it, especially when they've driven conventional automatics, maybe turbo diesels or anything like that, when you come to a stop and then you pull away again, or you're just doing manoeuvres, these are just so silky and smooth and silent when they're doing it. They genuinely make conventional cars feel really clumsy after you've driven one of them, and everyone says it. It's not just me trying to waving the flag for them. It really, really does. It's an extraordinary thing to drive. So coming back to the engine, I should say there are no warning lights on the dashboard at all, by the way, relating to the engine or any other part of the car. Temperature gauge running at just over 1/3, again exactly where it's meant to be on this car. Let's come to steering and the chassis. Really nice setup in this car. They've got it absolutely spot on, which is why I've always loved them. The steering's really nicely weighted, because obviously you've got no drive shafts going to them because it's rear wheel drive. You get a real natural feel for the steering, but it's positive, it's quick, it's informative, but it's not unsettling or nervous in any way. It really is your friend, and it works beautifully with the chassis. It's absolutely in harmony. It also tracks dead straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit that I can feel. Because the chassis, what it gives you is what I think in a kind of almost like a sports sedan, if you like, or a sports saloon. It's got really nice damping to the chassis. It's comfortable over most surfaces. It's brilliant for long distance travelling, for motorway use. I've driven one of these for hundreds of miles, and it's one of the nicest cars I've driven on the motorway because it's so quiet, so smooth in every way. But more than that, when you go through the corners and through the bends, it kind of comes alive. The car corners very flat. It's got a natural balance to it, being rear wheel drive, so more so it doesn't feel nose heavy like some front wheel drive cars can. But the way they managed to sort of allow you to have this really well judged ride alongside the athleticism that the chassis can give you as well, because it's really hard with this sector of the market to give what everybody wants. As I always said in these videos, if you want an out and out sports saloon, you will still buy a BMW 3 Series. You know, and I'm honest enough to admit it. And if you want absolute precision, you know, on the edge handling, yeah, there's nothing better than them. The problem is when you don't want to do that, they can feel really clunky over anything other than perfect road surfaces and quite unsettling. This car delivers 95% of what the BMWs can give in terms of the handling, but at all other times is a much nicer car to drive day in, day out, and much nicer than things like the A4 and the C classes, which just feel really dull by comparison. And I've been waffling on deliberately because I've come to the little section I don't normally go down, but it's a really nice demonstration for the car, without driving like a lunatic, of course. It's just so capable, because when you go through corners, it's completely unruffled. Just turns in, wants to go. It's a lovely car to drive. It really is. So if you're in the mood and you want to sort of push along a bit, you know, safely and, you know, in consideration of others, it's really rewarding because it's so confident on the brakes. It likes to sort of, you can brake late into corners without unsettling the car. Doesn't intimidate, but you know, this is quite a yumpy little B road, and yet it's just dealing with it all absolutely brilliantly. Because this next section, just down here, there's always a bit I like. You turn in, then this tightens up on you a little bit. Late on the brakes, turn in, no fuss. It's just so easy and effortless with the car, but involving without, you know, because sometimes they be like that, but just leave you cold. This doesn't. It's a really, really pleasant car to drive at all times. Incidentally, by the way, absolutely no rattles or clonks coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be there, so all in very, very fine order. The brakes are fantastic on it as well, no pulsing, no vibrations at all, so again, all really, really good. Finally coming inside, it's just yet to be cleaned. It's literally just arrived to us. These are lovely places to sit. First and foremost, being a Lexus, it's beautifully put together. No squeaks, no rattles. But more than that, you actually have a sense that you are in something that dares to be a bit different, but not just for the sake of being different. It works. It works brilliantly. You've got the big screen sat-nav up there working exactly as it should. Heated and vented seats, likewise. The detailing of all the major controls is just beautifully done. Mark Levinson stereo sounds fantastic in these cars. It's one of the best audio systems you'll ever experience, and because the car's so quiet, it's not fighting other background noises. But when you sit in the car and operate it, you do feel as though you are in something quite special in here. Air conditioning, which is obviously dual zone, pumps out ice cold air, by the way. And then this dash binnacle in front, which Lexus have always done these brilliantly, because it's giving you information without being overdone. But the detailing of it is such that you just look at the dash binnacle, take the information, you're back on the road. It's as it should be. And as I mentioned before, currently in sport mode, I've got, you know, the rev counter in the red background. Press it down, and I go to blue background again, and an eco or power meter. And you've got this lovely steering wheel, sort of sporty feeling steering wheel. It's a fantastic car. It really, really is. As I said at the start of the video, the point of which is just to show the car operating and feedback on any issues, of which I can find nothing at all. It drives absolutely beautifully.